Welcome to another episode of the Programmatic Digest podcast. Let me be honest here. I'm hella excited about this episode because we have my favorite clients on the call. One of my favorite clients on the call, I'm going to say, because I don't want nobody to be mad at me. But we have a special conversation today because we actually found each other on TikTok. I was a big fan of your TikTok. So before we even going to talk about TikTok, welcome, Julianne. Welcome, Jessica from Above the Fold. How are you lovely ladies doing today?
Oh, thank you. We're doing great.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny you found us on TikTok. We're such nerds on there.
I know. Well, we were big fans of yours for long before that. So when you commented on my TikTok, I kind of had a fangirl moment. So.
Here I was having a fangirl moment, and you were. It was destiny at this point,
right?
Yes.
So we're going to talk about, what led you into the field today. We're going to talk about programmatic advertising, some do's and don'ts, but we're really going to focus on your journey because I think it's so inspiring and aspiring for some people. So let's hop into your introduction. How about Julianne, you start? Give us your quick, 2 to 3 minutes, who Julianne is, how you landed into this magnificent industry, and then what is your why? Who are you?
Okay. Well, let's start with just my professional journey. I'm definitely a marketing nerd since I was 14 or so. I had my first marketing class, said, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. Digital was not a thing then. This was in the 90s. So I got into DECA, which is a marketing club, and started doing competitions. And, I went to study marketing in college, and I studied abroad a lot. So I thought I was going to go into the international marketing space. But I had an idea because of the study abroads, I wanted to start a website that helped colleges market their programs to students. And so I did a business plan and found a company in DC that would kind of help me build that. So I moved to DC from Utah and built this company for about 6 years, 4 to 6 years. Can't remember exactly, but we built up a website, and we also did email marketing. So I got into the digital space a little bit there, but this was in 2004. So there really wasn't a lot of digital marketing going on. But I just got my feet wet into that. And then I went to get my international MBA at University of Denver, and still was doing more of traditional marketing studies. But I did a case competition for a digital website and really loved what they were doing. They were doing online reviews and advertising, but they're more, and then they had an agency as well. So it was more of an SEO organic company. Yeah. And I joined them as the first employee after my MBA. And I had the entrepreneurial bug, but was too scared to do it on my own, basically. So I joined as a first employee. I was going to help build that up. And for the next 5 years, I helped build this agency to about 15 people. And we were full service digital marketing. So we didn't really do any paid. We outsourced some PPC, but I became an expert at SEO and organic social, et cetera. So I'd been in this small business startup for a while, always being the first employee. And and then I had my first kid. I had a 6-month-old baby, and the company in Denver decided to kind of sell off and do some other things. So my husband and I were he's from Philadelphia. So we started looking at jobs all over the US, and I got a job back in Utah with Rakuten Advertising, which was a huge international agency. Yeah. And I got put in the programmatic display team as an account manager.
They just dropped you in.
Yeah.
She looks like she kept figured out. Boop.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's really how it went.
Yeah, I think it was very rare to have programmatic experience. So I literally learned there from the ground up. You start getting retargeted and check ads and learn ad tags and the tech side of it.
The realest conversation.
Yeah. I moved up pretty quickly there, and I joined the like integrated marketing, because they did this programmatic display, paid social, affiliate, and paid search. And so I worked with some of the biggest clients that were doing all of those channels. And I really got into like how we can prove out performance. So they had an attribution tool. So I really used like fractional attribution to show programmatic lift. And so I really got to love that and see how programmatic specifically was so integral in growing these businesses. So I met Jessica at Rakuten, so she can tell her whole story. She left and took the big leap into entrepreneurship. I stayed on another year, and then I went on as a VP of operations at a small agency. I wanted to get back into the small agency space. So they got acquired, of course, like 3 months after I started. So that whole entrepreneurial journey was cut short, but I learned a lot about process efficiency, managing growth, because we did grow really quickly. I was there for 1 year. And then Jessica kept knocking on my door, come over to Above the Fold, come to Above the Fold. And so finally, I was like, you know what? She's offering me partnership to build this company. She'd done a lot of the really hard work. So, which was what was very scaring me about starting. So thankfully, she kept at it, and I took that leap over here a year and a half ago now, and as CMO and partner. And so we've been building this programmatic company since, or she'd started it before, but I'm here. So
and I am so incredibly lucky to work with this lady. She obviously, you heard her background. She's amazing. And I literally did stalk her for a long time to come work with me. Even though we are really, really good friends too. So I'm lucky to be her friend too.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. I think we have some similarities, Julianne, because I always wanted to be in marketing from a younger age, because my mom was working as a, I don't know, VP of marketing, director of marketing, whatever the title was for airline company. And so, you know, back in the days, they had suits, red lip, like, you know, big earrings, bangles and stuff like that. And so, I think once a month or once a quarter, she would have to fly to Brussels where they were headquartered, and she'll have like her really nice, like, you know, handbag and the big board, like in Mad Men, right? I mean, it was early 2000s.
I love that show so much.
You know, it's like she still had her board, and she had like a lot of graphic. And I was like, that's badass and sexy. I was like, I want to do marketing. And that's how I started. And I also always landed in agencies where I was one of the first trader.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the girl. Always. And so I did help build some of that department, or at least trained a lot of people after that, which I discovered I really love. So I think
it's fun.
Really
It is fun.
It's really interesting. So Jessica, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So I actually, if we're going back to high school,
I mean, you have to start from
go way back. You have to start. Like when
I wanted to be a journalist.
Oh, cool.
I really wanted to be a journalist, which is kind of where getabovethefold.com comes from. It's like, it's a newspaper term. Yeah. You know, you want to be above the fold in the paper, but that's kind of my journalistic, you know, background coming out. I was the editor of the paper in high school, and then I was also the editor of the paper in college, and I really wanted to be a journalist, but that was kind of like in the 90s, early 2000s, when journalism was basically dying, you know, and kind of turning digital. And it was actually kind of this weird thing where like programmatic and journalism were kind of meshing, and, you know, display ads were kind of meshing into the journalistic world, where the only way they were going to get ad revenue was by running programmatic ads, basically, you know, kind of funny, honestly, now that I look back. But I actually worked during college the whole time for an eCommerce company called 1-800-Contacts. And I worked there for 8 years. And so I felt like that was a really good way to get into advertising, because I started as an administrative assistant. It gave me a bird's eye view into every single type of marketing. I mean, we were still running print at the time. Like, you know, we were running print, email, paid search, affiliate, every type of marketing. We were running like brand lift studies.
Oh, wow.
You know, we were running every single type of advertising you could think of. And so it was like a really cool thing to start out my marketing career in that way. Because I even worked in the type of marketing where I could conversion rate advertising, you know, optimizing conversion rate on the site. And I worked with our developers and, you know, worked with agile methodology to make sure that everything that we were launching on the website, you know, was in 2-week project management buckets. And it was just really good experience, like as a 20-year-old to like learn marketing in that way.
Sure, yeah.
And then I graduated college with my undergraduate degree, and my VP at the time was an amazing mentor. He's like, choose what type of marketing you want to work in. He's like, you decide. You've been able to get a bird's eye view.
Yeah.
All of these different types of marketing. And so I'm kind of a social butterfly. Like I am just kind of an extrovert. So I chose affiliate. And I was like, yeah, I chose affiliate marketing because I was like in my 20s, and affiliate marketing is like the party scene, right? Yeah. Like we were going to Vegas to Affiliate Summit West, and we were going to all these different conferences, and I was like, I'm in my 20s, like I want to live it up. And so we were managing 3,500 affiliates at 1-800-contacts. Like it was crazy. Wow. Like, and I would go to all these different affiliate conferences and just negotiate like coupon code placement on everyone's site. You know what I mean? But it also was a lot of like policing. It was like,
oh yeah. You have
people were bidding on our trademark terms, you know? And it was like, I felt like I was like the advertising police all the time. And so anyways, I worked on the affiliate side for a little while at an affiliate company that did credit card cashback for a while. And that was fun because then I could work with all the clients on the other side and negotiate cash back and all of that. And then I was like, okay, I kind of want to learn a different side of marketing. So then I went to Rakuten and
you would drop into programmatic too.
Yeah, full on. I had an affiliate background, and they were like,
yeah, the Salt Lake office was heavily display and social, and then affiliate was huge, but it was mainly like New York and Chicago. So
yeah, Rakuten now owns Ebates, and so they rebranded Ebates into Rakuten. So it's a big affiliate company, but at the time it was pretty programmatic focused. And so yes, dropped me right into programmatic, and it was kind of like trial by fire, like Julianne said, go get retargeted, you know, and then it was very much like learning tags. And it was trial by fire. It was nobody knew programmatic really at the time. But we learned omni-channel marketing. Like Julianne said, we learned affiliate, search, programmatic. We learned how that all interacts in a multi-touch attribution system and where people should be putting their budgets with social as well. So it was awesome.
The common denominator here is that no matter how you land into this industry, you will have to learn pretty fast and a lot, like no matter what. And this learning does not stop. Like I still, you know, like I'd like to joke, I don't know when the podcast probably go live early June, right? But like in April, we had Shiv Gupta and Miles Younger on in the community, and they from U of Digital, and they were talking about connected TV and blah, blah, blah. And then he was referring to fast. And I'm like, what? The WF is fast now. We have AVOD, SVOD. He's like, yeah, fast is free ad supported TV. And I'm like, isn't that AVOD, ad video on demand? He's like, well, AVOD is, you know, AVOD is Prime or Netflix, right? It's like on demand only. But fast is like a YouTube live. You know, watching it, and I'm like, why do we need another term?
So many acronyms. There's so many acronyms, right?
And I've been in the industry for like 10 plus years, so there's never a dull moment. I think the beauty of asking this question about how you landed in the field is to give another perspective. Like, it does not matter. There's no colleges out there that's going to teach you programmatic, at least not the way we learned on the job. Right. And that's
Well,
one of the
your
reasons-
college, you now have training,
Yeah,
which
and
is
that's
so
why
nice.
Yeah.
that's
Your
why.
training is so nice.
Yeah,
It's
you're in
such
a
a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
The
Thank
industry has
you.
been needing that for a long time.
And that's
You know,
one of the reason why I did it, because I remember like
Yeah.
just short of 5 years ago, it was still a struggle to find easy education, independent education, I would say, right? Outside of a vendor, at least, outside of the trade desk or the Google, which are really great
The Google.
education, right? But the Google education, you have to know that where to find that piece of education. So if you're
Mhm.
just wanting to work in marketing and you hear about advertising, you don't always think about going there to learn. So I love that question.
well, and you have to know that that is bias. Like the
Oh.
Google training is probably bias.
Mhm.
So I would recommend getting a third-party training like your training, which is not bias, right? Like getting an off-platform training, which is not bias, is probably recommended.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that, because that's one of the reasons why we did what we did. It's because the trade desk education is really great. The Google is really great. But again, it's very niche to specialize to the platform that you're going to use.
Yes.
You know, it's still a very great way to learn, y'all. So if you're
Mhm.
listening, it's still a very great way to learn. But
Yeah.
again, it's just like you need to understand, like, there is like the Google or the trade desk will be like, we have the best platform. And I'm like, you have the best platform in these situations
Yes.
and not these situations.
You
And
just
because
have
I've
to
read
know
both.
that like they're selling
Yeah.
through their training,
Mm-hmm.
their platforms, right? Like, and so you have to like play devil's advocate a little bit while you're doing the training and know like, okay, well, they're definitely selling their platform while I'm doing this. And so it's nice to have like your training where it's like non-bias, you know?
And you know,
It's
I
such a
appreciate
relief.
that, Jessica, because like Simplify has also like a training, but
Mhm.
the good part of the Simplify training is only available. It's not a paywall, but if you're a customer, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm a trader working in media math and I just want to learn about geofencing or
Yeah.
addressable targeting, I can only get the free content from Simplify, but the
Mhm.
good stuff that I've taken is behind that paywall or that customer wall. And so
Yeah.
that sucks, right? Like you're limiting that potential person of greatness at this point,
Mhm.
which leads into the next topic that I want to cover, which is the importance of partnering with like a boutique agency like yourself. Like, we've heard of the big media agencies. Yeah, they're nice and sexy, but there's like there's such a great benefit to working for a team like Above the Fold versus like going for a big media team. So to walk us through, like, you know, what are maybe some client success story, but why would a brand or like a client want to work with a boutique, like the benefit of working for a boutique programmatic agency like yours or a marketing agency like yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can start there. I think going through like big media companies, like Julianne and I have worked for one, we've worked for an international marketing agency, you know, and there's a lot of employees, right? Like there's a lot of employees, there's a lot of things going on. The benefit of working with Julianne and I is like, we both started in account management.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a really awesome strength for both of us because we really understand that the customer is number one. Like that's kind of how we built our company, is like the customer is number one. That is always our goal. And so it's how we've built our company is like making sure that the customer is always taken care of in all facets of everything. And we're really focused on not having like a one size fits all for every client. Like every client has different goals. Every client has different reporting systems. And we take each client, like literally client by client, like, and each client's different reporting systems. And like when you use a really, really big media agency, I think sometimes you kind of get baked into what their processes are. And it's just kind of like, okay, we're in their process, we're in their cog of the machine.
Yeah.
And, you do risk working with really new people that might not know the industry very well. I mean, we worked in the industry for a really long time and we understand it really, really well. And so I think that is the benefit of working with a boutique agency is like, we really, really understand the industry really well, and you just get really good customer service.
I love what you said about getting stuck into the big companies process because, okay, so we pitch this brand a couple months ago, and we were one of the only boutique agency that presented. Well, there was another one actually. It was one of the two. And we asked them like, oh, what is something that other agencies have done that, were not your best, you're not a fan. And they specifically recommended to talk to the team that was going to handle the account, right? So for us as a boutique agency, it's like, it's me and two other people, and then one more social and maybe a reporting person. So it's max 5 people. But like some of the, and this is not only this particular brand, we pitched a couple brands last year and they all said the same thing. They wanted to be able to connect with the team directly. And I'm like, it's so like such a given for me. It's like, it makes so much sense. Like, why not just have the people that are going to work with me on the call, right? On the meeting right away from day one. But when you separate the departments, it can be shallow. But at the same time, you are talking to the expert in business development, the expert in pre-sale, the expert in post-sales, right? Versus boutique agency is, and I love the word boutique, but boutique agency is just like, we are the expert for you. We understand you. We're like your right hand, basically, when it comes to your strategy, to representing your brand. We become the brand too. And I think that's like such a valuable skill or such a valuable thing to have from your partners, especially as a brand, as a global brand, like some of the brands you run. It's like it's like non-negotiable for me at this point. Like, and that's the type of partners now we don't service brands directly anymore, but that's the type of partnership I only work for. Like, okay, can you specialize in something that I don't? Let's go ahead and talk. And then how can we complement each other to represent this client?
I think it's hard, like, as you're growing and scaling. Like, I mean, I heard one of your other podcasts, I was listening to it last week, and it's like, what's the benefit of separating out media buying from account management, from, creative, and, versus having the person knowing all of it. And, when we worked at a previous company, like everything was separated, like the media buyers were separate, the account managers were separate. And it was really hard as an account manager to be able to speak to the client and say, like, here's the media buying optimizations that were made. Like, it was really hard. Like, unless you had an insanely good relationship with the media buyers, I felt like it just didn't work, to be honest. Like, and so we've built our company in a way where we do the media buying and the account management. And it feels like it's just so much more like copacetic, like the communication is understood. We really understand the real-time optimizations we're making. And it's just so much more seamless. And so I listened to that podcast and I was like, oh, I want to speak on this, because like, we really believe in us. We believe in us, like, training on everything. And that's how we will with future employees too, because we've lived it and we've lived the separation, and it just didn't flow very well for the client. And like I said, we put the client first, and we experienced the client not having a great experience with everything being separated. So
and like the positive of that again is like, now you've built this really personal, like trustworthy relationship with your client, because now you've pretty much touched on all. And yes, you still might need a trader, you still might need like a salesperson separated, but by keeping like by sharing some of this. And then also, I think some of the biggest companies that we're talking about have larger sales team, and sometimes 2 to 3 of those salespeople show up in the meetings, and then another 2 show up. So you have like 20 people because half of them are only sales,
We've
And then
been
you
there.
have the friend of the salesperson, and it becomes like, are those people necessarily needed on this call? But yeah, but one is specialized in selling for this industry, one is specialized in this technology, one is specialized in this market. And I'm like, what can we combine some of that?
Yes.
But the positive, again, the benefit of having that set up the way they have is that you're building that specialty.
Yeah.
Like, I am specialized in geofencing addressable targeting, and I can talk to agencies about it like it's nobody's business.
Yeah.
But again, you miss that. And I do think that the model can work if, and only if internally you have the right process to break down that silo between the department. Like it has to be like you said, you don't know who was your media trader, or rather you didn't talk to them as often. Like you got to be able to talk to them and ask them questions.
Communication has to be so good between the departments, and like
that's not always the case. There's not.
No.
Yeah.
Even like a client by client basis. I think one other thing that differentiates us as is that I think a lot of our clients might not be the huge brands. We have some of those, and they kind of like see programmatic as like a separate thing. But a lot of people, even like medium-sized companies, they think they think digital advertising, and they don't know like the channels. They don't know the options. A lot of times they're thinking, Facebook, Google, or
I was gonna say Facebook is
know,
digital advertising. I'm like,
yeah. So they might already be doing that a little bit. It's not really working well, or what we do is we try to have a really good conversation at the beginning and not really go into like solutions, but what is your goal? What are you already doing? And we map out the funnel, and we say, okay, what types of, are you doing email marketing? What's the audience? And what we tend to see is that they're really missing a huge area of the funnel, usually at the top of the funnel, right?
Yeah.
And usually, or they think the only targeting available is very broad targeting, because that's where those platforms are going. And so we start out by really understanding all the different pieces they have in the mix and what their audience is, and then it kind of starts speaking to itself what the gaps are. And then we say, well, here's your goal is targeting this very specific granular person. And we start getting into the hyper targeting you could do with programmatic by location, demographic, behavior, and it just starts making sense. Whereas if we didn't do that process, it's a lot hard. And someone that's not specifically looking for programmatic, like it helps. They really understand what it's going to do. And then we also, because of our backgrounds, we piece together all those pieces. So we help them see how what we're doing is lifting all their other channels. We want them to see growth overall. So we from the beginning, we try to educate on what they're going to see. Like, you're going to see more people coming direct to your website because there's these ads. You're going to see more organic traffic. Your conversion rate on paid search is going to be higher for brand, and you're going to have more brand searches. So we try to help them connect all that together and tell that story, which I think most people are like, don't do that, just don't have the time.
Well, also we have to play the Google Analytics game. Right.
The dance.
I'm sure everybody knows that game.
The last click versus whatever click metric model we are at this point. I'm sure there's a new acronym that I don't know about, or that I know about. Now there's GA4.
GA4. GA versus GA4. But we do find a lot of people are just spending way too much budget at the bottom of the funnel. And then they come to us, they're like, my company is not growing. It's like, well, you've got to find a happy medium in the budget that you're spending at the top and the middle of the funnel versus the bottom of the funnel. Like, if you really want to grow your company, you've got to fill your funnel with new users that are within your customer persona. That you can then convert at the bottom of the funnel, right?
I'm giggling because I had Mark Poirier. He's the CEO of Clever Advertising and their agency trading desk, and he was talking about how he loves talking to his clients about the funnel, right? Like, it's nice, like they want to focus on the bottom of the funnel. It's very performance based and whatnot, but a funnel has a top and a bottom. It's just not the
100%.
bottom. The funnel
Yeah.
is top, medium, second medium, even third medium,
Ah.
bottom. And
That is very small.
it's like that funnel has top to bottom, and you have to remember to fund it. So I like his analogy there, and I think it goes back to what you're saying. Says we can be as performance based, and programmatic is performance based. Okay, it's not just awareness and reach, to y'all. It's not just those sexy
Right.
metrics. It can be very, very performance based, and you have to set up in a way. And don't get me wrong. I mean, we were joking about GA versus GA4, but I mean, as much as I hate to admit this out loud in these streets, but clients have looked at GA as a main source or a trusted source of measurement for years before GA4 came about.
Yeah.
So as marketers, you are going to have to get on board with this, unfortunately. For your client's sake, you're not here against or with a particular partner, but you're here representing that client and that brand. And it's important that you become that advisor and that educator, like Julianne said.
Exactly.
So
Like so
you have to
often,
get on it.
yeah, so often it's like, okay, that's your form of measurement. We'll use it. We want you to also, so part of
But
that
then,
is
yes,
like, this is going to be measured by lift. Like ideally we can get them on a multi-touch attribution tool or something like that. So we have some partners we refer to, but if they don't have that ability right then, a lot of times they don't understand how it's measured. Like it's not great with mobile, even GA4, it's not great at directing into the right funnel. So we say, okay, we'll look at it, but we're also going to report on your direct lift. How many more people are coming organic? How many more people are coming through PPC? And you're going to see overall growth, and we'll report on our direct performance.
Not only that, but we do a lot of education around Google and just how, hey, like Google built this platform around its system, right?
Yep.
Google, it has an advertising ecosystem, and it built a reporting platform around that to make that ecosystem look good, right? That's a conflict of interest if you think about it. And yet marketers have been using this as their sole source of reporting since the 90s. Like, if I just want to encourage marketers to think about that for a minute. I know we're smart people. And so we always encourage marketers to at least consider a multi-touch attribution platform that is not owned by Google, to look at the data, to have you filter in from outside sources, because Google in GA4 is now filtering in view from their systems, but nowhere else. So just think about that, right? We just challenge our clients to think about that. And because I just can still not believe that marketers still use it as the sole source of data.
Yeah, because it's, like you said, Google made it easy. You just plugged in really well everywhere.
Yeah, it's easy, which is great. I mean,
but it's not great for growth.
It's not great for
translated all these platform technology into one language. That's
I see it more as like a website analytics platform.
No, it started as a website.
Yeah, it's just sure, what are people doing on the site? What pages are they visiting? But
exactly, but
Jessica,
not
where is it coming from? What's happening?
It's not great for growth, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's more like a post verification tool. Oh, this is what happened. Now, how do we move forward with it? So I like the fact that you're still using other partners with it. And, to close the conversation before the closing segment, leave us with maybe what is something that happened, I don't know, this quarter for a client of yours, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. We were able to do this for this client. Find this, without revealing too much secret sauce. Unless you do want to, then that's fine. We'll take it.
My favorite client success story is literally, we worked with a startup that had zero revenue. I'm not kidding you.
Okay.
And helped them scale to the point of hitting their revenue goals using programmatic and other tactics. I mean, lower in the funnel tactics too.
Yeah, right.
But it was mainly starting with programmatic. It's just a fun success story. and helping them find investors.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice.
Like, yeah, we went so far as like putting an investor deck together for them, like showing the growth
Oh.
because we were managing all the advertising. So
Yeah.
we're a partner, like our clients are our partners. We are invested with them as
Yeah.
like adjunct team members. So
That's the cool part of being a boutique agency is we can give that level of service, right? Like we helped a startup scale their business to the point of getting an investor.
Yeah.
And help them with the investment presentation, right?
and they got the investment and
And
are
they got the
continually growing.
investment.
So
Oh, cool. That is
Yeah.
definitely a dope. So, and what industry is this startup in?
They're in like the travel industry.
Travel. Okay. That's really cool. That is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And in this environment, in this economic climate,
I was gonna say,
to
yeah.
get an investor this year, I feel like is like almost impossible right now. But yeah,
Yeah, that's super.
I'm really, really happy for them and proud of them and proud of our team for everything that we've done to help them. And it's just like probably my favorite success story of my career, to be honest. Like it's
Aw,
just
that's
really
awesome.
fun.
and we're still in the middle of it. They're still growing. Yeah, one of mine is we've had some companies that one is a supplement company and they were mainly on Amazon. It's an eye supplement, so not anything crazy, but they're only on Amazon, really successful there and wanted to expand out and start really growing like their own website and getting sales from that. And so we came up with some really great strategies from like a B2B perspective. They wanted to get in front of eye doctors and ophthalmologists. And so we built on some address level targeting, geofencing, data segments, just a lot of things to test. And then on the B2C side, it's people that need like macular degeneration or eye health and like, being able to see better on the screen. So there's all these different use cases for these supplements. And so not only are they seeing growth on their website, but we are also able to show lift on Amazon. So more people are looking for them by
Wow,
name
now they're
there.
good. Yeah. I do that all the time. I come across an ad, I'll click through and I'm like, let me find out if it's on Amazon so I don't have to
Yeah, I think more and more people are doing that.
so I don't have to enter my name, address, and my credit cards. Amazon.
Yeah, so it's kind of like we've shown the use case for great. If you're going to be on, you probably need to be on Amazon, mostly in this like supplements and like a lot of consumer goods and stuff, right? Like, but it doesn't have to be the sole thing. You can diversify successfully, but it does kind of show how programmatic will drive people to a website, but they'll also go to Amazon. And if you're not looking at lift everywhere, you're going to miss it.
And Amazon is still a great partner for some of those e-commerce, but also I want to clarify, like when I go back to look on Amazon, I try to find that same exact brand. I won't find like the Amazon choice version of it, because then I'm like, that's not fair, like,
they're already
that's a whole other conversation. On choice situation. That's
I used to be the Amazon choice, and then with everything happening in the news, and I want to support the little guys and the small businesses.
Yes,
I do.
If you see that brand in an ad, go support that brand. I love that.
Don't Amazon choice it, even if it's more.
No, don't do that.
Wait the 3 weeks like everybody else. Instead of 2 days. That's a conversation. All right, so let's leave with like a word of wisdom here. You dropped so many beautiful gems. We appreciate that, but leave us before the word of wisdom. Like, talk about your TikTok. Like how.
Well, I think like anyone, we started doing it just because it was interesting. We thought it'd be fun.
Yeah, it is.
So, I mean, and it was kind of like a creative challenge. Like, let's start talking about programmatic in a way that's easy. Like, if I can explain a concept like geofencing in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So, but it's also just been like, we've had a stressful day. Like, let's do that one TikTok trend, and, we'll do a dance and but it's been great. I mean, we're just still getting started. We have like 2,000 followers or almost 3,000. So
yeah, I think like we got so many questions of like what the HE double hockey sticks is programmatic or other swear words, that we were like, okay, we gotta like find a fun, easy platform to like explain what programmatic is. So TikTok is perfect for that. We can just
Yeah.
like joke around, be ourselves,
Yo,
explain it in like 15 to 30 seconds.
you gotta go back on their TikTok. It's programmatic ads, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so at programmatic ads, and it's super funny. And I think I remember coming across explaining the difference between I think also recently I came across a comment you left for this one guy who was just shitting on programmatic. He was like, this is why you shouldn't do programmatic. It's a bunch of data and you
he
should
had
keep
some
it all
video.
into Google search or Google Display Network. And I'm like, what? And
Yeah,
so I was like, let me tell this guy. And I scrolled down and then Julian had very diplomatically explained the difference. And I was like,
Yeah,
maybe it's better.
it's like he had one explanation for one agency he'd worked with that ran programmatic, and he didn't like them. And it was the agency. It was not programmatic. Like, you wouldn't say, oh, Google Ads sucks because my agency didn't manage it good. Like, I was just like, well, that's a decision by that agency. That's not programmatic advertising.
I was gonna go ham on the guy, and then I saw your comment. I was like, okay, this Jesus just saved him, because I was really good. And I was like, why is there a cap on this comment? Reply. It's like, I was like, that is so misleading. And then I read the rest of the comments, and they were like, yeah, we only keep all of our spend into Google. And I'm like, what?
Oh,
Or
so
Facebook. And then I saw a comment that said, yeah, we have a lot of great success with Facebook and Facebook's audience network. And I was like, you do what? You're complaining about transparency and you're claiming that Facebook audience network is the great thing?
Yeah, it's like, have you seen the transparency you can get? I can show you top.
Have you not heard them on the news?
Oh
Like,
my
yeah. There. Anywho, that's another program. And we're not saying that programmatic is the best. We're saying that it complements all of these other channels really well. And you will get bad apples if you're not working with the expert on there, period.
For sure.
And it's like, you should be educated, like all marketers should be educated enough to know what to ask, like know like how it runs, where to add show, what kinds of optimizations can an agency make, and those are available through training. So
and also, that's one thing I love about like our background in account management is like, if people work with us, we try to teach them. It's not easy to learn programmatic, and a lot of people do come from a Google and Facebook background, and we are very understanding and empathetic towards that. And we say, we know you come from that. We've worked in that world too. We want to help you understand programmatic and how it can help you grow your business. It's not like those bottom of the funnel tactics, but it can help grow those bottom of the funnel tactics. So we try to do it in a very empathetic and like, learning way,
Yeah, I always tell everybody in the program, like, if you cannot explain what you're doing to a 5-year-old, you don't understand it enough. Matter of fact, that's one of the questions I always ask in the podcast. I forgot, but we're going to leave with like a word of wisdom. Okay. So each of you answer this question. What is something you wish you knew when you first started that you know now? Like, what would you tell your freshman self if you had to start over again?
I would say like, it's more of just an entrepreneurship and like motherhood thing. Is just like making sure that you prioritize your time in an effective way and just really calendar yourself out effectively and just not overwork yourself, just really try to take advantage of those 8 hours in the day, and not like, don't work evenings and weekends if you humanly possibly can, because like, honestly, a burnt out person isn't good for clients. It's not good for people you work with. It's not good for anybody. And so just like really time management kind of thing. I know this is like totally off topic of like programmatic, but it's been something I've been working on lately, is just like, time management, just the habits that you have. Like, I know a lot of people in the programmatic world are burnt out. Like, I've been working in this industry for a really long time. And so just, calendaring yourself out, saying no when you need to, like, let's all take good care of ourselves. Cause I know there's a lot of people in this industry that aren't doing that.
No, that's so good. That's so good. We didn't even get a chance to talk about work-life balance, so we'll just have to have them back on the podcast, obviously. Time management, I think it's the hardest thing to learn because when I first started in my 20s, I like really wanted to over deliver and worked all these long hours on the weekends and whatnot. But now in my 30s, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do 6 hours today.
Well, and we've
But
got to make
the
time for our
most
kids, you
it's the
know?
most productive 6 hours I will ever spend. And I'm still gonna walk around, do my thing, go get my glass of water downstairs because I work from home. And I'm still gonna go hug my kid if she comes in and say, like, Mommy, stop working. And I'll be like, all right, give me 5 minutes, child. Let me just email this person. But time management is a good way of telling your mind, body, and soul that I love me and I need me to be great in order for me to perform greatly personally and professionally, period. Because
Yeah.
a burnt person, like you said, not helpful for anybody, clients included, family included, the plants included, right? So,
Yeah.
Julian, what would be
Yeah.
your word of wisdom?
Well, I think from like the business side, I think it took me a long time to see myself as like an expert. And what I've learned is that just knowing a little bit of marketing and a little bit of programmatic, what I love about working with clients is just a little bit of our expertise can change their whole business. And so if we talk about changing lives, like if there's a business owner and if you're able to give them just some strategic insight, you're actually changing their business and all the people that work there. So we actually, we're not saving lives here, but we can change them by just being like, a source of good, being transparent, being like looking for clients that you can really help as a business owner. I mean, it can be very fulfilling as well. So
I think we mistake also, like when we help, we expect things to give back to us, right? Because I helped you, now you're not need to do. No, I think that's the worst way of thinking about helping and being a servant leader, is that you're expecting something else in return. But if you operate with that mindset that you mentioned, Julian, that I'm helping because I'm actually a good person and I'm not expecting anything else, right, out of this conversation, but being myself, and myself is helping no matter what, no matter that check will be signed or no matter that deal will be closed. I'm just here to help. Like, you attract so much more into your life, right?
yes.
So
Yeah. And
operate under that mindset.
yeah. And I just got a big lead yesterday from like a neighbor that I was chatting with at the mailbox. And a year later, he remembered that conversation and said, oh, I remember what you told me. You gave me the tip and advice, and I mentioned it to my VP of marketing, and they want to talk with you.
Yeah.
And I was like,
And
oh, wow.
that says a lot about you. It's like you were genuinely trying to help. And it's funny, I have a friend, I give her 3-4 years ago, right? She's an event planner and she was picking my brain about advertising. And so she said that I still remember when you told me that you only have $3 to give a day. Your kids are not in the background, right? They're not in the background, right? Your kids, okay, cool.
No.
So I told her, okay, you only have $3 to give a day. Okay. So which one of this issue is going to use your fucks? And you can't borrow fucks. You can't. So if you go through your $3 a day, that means the rest of your day, you cannot get upset about things. And then she said she still remembers that and she shares with everybody. And I told her now I don't need no fuck. I don't need to remember my fucks because I don't need it anymore. Like, I understand that if it's outside of my control, the only thing I can do is how I react to it, and it's not going to change me. Not right now. At least not right now.
That is
my
hilarious. I am totally going to remember that.
Yeah, like you only have $3 a day. You cannot borrow it from nobody. You can give them away though, but you can't borrow it. And she still remembers that. I was like, oh my gosh, we had this conversation like 5 years ago. She's like, I still operate. It's really like helped my mental state, and you have no idea. Because I told her we need to all be like Chad, because Chad is like that young white guy that really is not afraid of asking the dumbest questions, right? That's not afraid of just putting himself out there and look ridiculous because he's so confident. And so I told her, like, today we got to be like Chad a little bit more, be overconfident, because what we have within us is like it needs to be out. We're not here just to be good or okay or average. We're here to be great. Okay.
100%. I really
So I was
love
like,
that
be like,
book. I really love that book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
oh yeah. Okay. So it's
Reminds
been
me
bookmarked
what you
forever.
just said. It's very hand in hand with that. It's one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna read it. It's been bookmarked for way too long at this point. I can't even admit it out loud. But thank you so much for stopping on the podcast. I think it's a better way to leave us with like time management, because it's self-care to you, and saying no doesn't mean that you don't care. It just means that it's not the right time for you, and that's okay. And then, of course, having the confidence, but also just being you and not being afraid to just help with no expectation, with no intention, with no boundaries. I think that's something that's so valuable, because when you put good out there, good will come back. Like boom. Strongly believe. So thank you, Julianne. Thank you, Jesse, for coming. If anybody wants to reach out to y'all, how can they do that outside of the programmatic ads on TikTok?
So our website is getabovethefold.com. We're pretty active on LinkedIn, and I'm Jessica Chase, MBA on LinkedIn. And
yeah, I think I'm Julianne S. Martin, MBA. Maybe just Julianne Martin. So yeah.
Yeah, I will have both of your information in the show notes of the podcast or in the description of the YouTube video. And of course, if you're in our newsletter, you'll have some of their information as well. But Get Above the Fold is amazing. Like I love them. I mean, just go check TikTok and you'll understand what I mean.
Yeah, join the programmatic ecosystem. Like there's not a lot on there except I think us two, and
I don't know. A Stack It App does a great job on TikTok. But
yeah, some of the platforms are on there, but yeah.
Let us know what you think of some of our like crazy TikToks, because we don't get a lot of feedback, and we laugh about them, but we would love to know what other programmatic people think of them.
I try to remember to leave a comment. Well, I'm only on there once a month, which I should be more often on there anyway. But when I'm on there, and I always go back and check up, like, what did I miss? Oh, this is so great. So I'll try to leave more comments, but they're great. I love it. It makes so much sense. It just like lifts up some of this hard concept that we go through every day. But
oh, good.
Thank you. And then we'll have them back on the podcast because we have so much more to talk about. Okay.
Great.
Have a lovely day, ladies.
Thank you for having us, Helene.